The dark side of the incredible Indian economic boom. On paper, India's economy has enjoyed a shining year. Exports have reached all-time highs. Profits at publicly listed corporations have more than doubled. A thriving middle class has emerged in recent decades, and it is now spending so much on movie tickets, vehicles, real estate, and holidays that economists refer to it as post-pandemic revenge spending. But does it represent the best? Does it really mean that by growing the economy, Indian people have achieved everything they want? A lot of truth about the economy remains in the background when we are shown the so-called good picture of the economy. Even though India is expected to enjoy the highest growth of any major economy this year, the optimistic headline stats do not represent reality for hundreds of millions of Indians. Growth is still not translating into enough employment for the influx of educated young people entering the labor field each year. A considerably greater percentage of Indians make a livelihood in the informal sector, and they have been hit hard in recent months by soaring inflation, particularly in food costs. So, what's the reason behind this? The divide is caused by India's unequal development, which is fueled by the country's top strata's insatiable spending, but whose benefits often do not spread beyond the urban middle class. According to Oxfam, the epidemic has widened the disparity, pushing tens of millions of Indians into abject poverty while increasing the number of Indian billionaires. The concentration of wealth is a result of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's grow-at-all-costs plans, which he vowed when re-elected in 2019 to double the size of India's GDP by 2024, bringing the nation into the $5 trillion or more club with the United States, China, and Japan. The government stated late last month that the GDP grew 8.7% in the previous year, reaching $3.3 trillion. However, with domestic investment lagging and government hiring faltering, India has resorted to subsidized fuel, food, and shelter for the poorest to alleviate chronic unemployment. Free grains now reach two-thirds of the country's 1.3 billion citizens. According to some estimates, these transfers have reduced inequality in India to its lowest level in decades. Still, opponents of the Indian government argue that subsidies cannot be utilized indefinitely to cover poor employment development. This is particularly true as tens of millions more Indians, new college graduates, farmers wishing to leave the fields, and women seeking employment are likely to enter the non-farm labor market in the coming years. There is a historical gap in the Indian economic narrative where growth basically occurs without a matching rise in employment, said Mahesh Vyas, chief executive for the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, a data analysis organization. So these were the problems. Now, let us go deep inside it. But according to Mr. Vyas, the economist, a high unemployment rate is not a showstopper for Indian politicians who are considerably more worried about inflation, which affects all voters. India's Reserve Bank and Finance Ministry have attempted to combat inflation, which is wreaking havoc on many nations due to pandemic-related supply chain issues and the crisis in Ukraine, by banning wheat and sugar exports, boosting interest rates, and lowering gasoline taxes. After hiking borrowing rates for the first time in 2 years in May, the bank raised them again on Wednesday, this time to 4.9%. In doing so, it forecasted that inflation would reach 6.7% over the following 3 quarters. Reserve Bank authorities have also used a variety of fiscal and monetary tools to sustain growth, which slowed in the first quarter of 2022, dropping to 4.1%. Household spending, a primary engine of India's economy, had fallen in recent months. We are dedicated to reducing inflation, said the bank's governor, Shaktikanta Das. At the same time, we must consider the necessities of expansion. It cannot be that procedure was effective yet the patient died. While the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve in the United States have said that their nations must accept reduced growth rates due to high commodity prices, India's Reserve Bank is not among them, according to Priyanka Kishore, an analyst at Oxford Economics. Growth is really important to India, she remarked. There is a political agenda. Mr. Modi's decision to restrict food exports represents a significant shift. In response to Russia's blockade of Ukrainian ports, which has caused a worldwide food shortfall, he said in April that Indian farmers might assist feed the globe. Instead, with global wheat shortages pushing up prices, the Indian government implemented an export restriction to keep local prices low. Economists believe that the problems of working-class Indians and the millions of jobless would ultimately stifle development. And that's all for today's video. Please let us know in the comment box what you all think about it. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching.